Today we're going to be covering the top 10 building tips to take your builds to the next level. Number 1, when having to make large flat surfaces such as walls in a castle, consider using a gradient of similar blocks in the wall. This would start with the darker blocks at the bottom and then work its way up to the lighter blocks. Doing this will help give the impression of the wall wearing over time and also help lead the viewer's eyes up to the top of the wall. A really popular builder that uses this technique a lot is Grian. Number 2, detail is one of the most important things to help bring your build from this to this. In every build you make, remember these words: detail, 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 and detail. Here is 3 examples of details that most, and I emphasize most, builds could use. Pathways, using path blocks mixed in with cobblestone, coarse dirt, stone, moss blocks, even granite and gravel can make beautiful pathways. And even adding in stone buttons on the floor can give the illustration of small pebbles or rocks. I love this one. This makes a build or house look so much more lived in and natural and just lovely. As mentioned before, you can add details to walls by adding gradients, but you can also add stairs, buttons, and other block types as well. And finally, make your carpets out of wool and carpet blocks to add that little bit more texture to them. Number 3, this one is a really important one, but is often looked over, and that is to plan your builds. Many popular builders will build most, if not all, of their builds in creative first, as this will really streamline the build process. This allows you to get a rough idea of the amount of materials that you need, and also gives you the freedom to design in creative. If you don't want to go as far as to build the entire thing in creative, even a rough sketch or just an idea in your head before you start building can really help improve the quality of your builds. Number 4, when you're building, start with a rough outline or shape to give a sense of scale and help you plan out what you're going to be building next. This can be extremely helpful as well when you're building large cities or villages or large complex builds to help make sure everything fits in together really well. Number 5, try to decide on your block palette in advance. It's important that you try and make it as unique and as bold as possible, but choose blocks that really complement each other. By the way, a palette is a selection of colours or materials that you'll have at the ready for you to pick from when you're creating a piece of art, or in this case, a Minecraft build. For a standard house, you might have a main block or a collection of similar looking blocks for the general walls, a darker block for framing the edges, a different unique block for the roof, and it's really helpful to have a block that has slabs and stairs available in this colour, as this will enable you to add textures and different shapes to the roof. A type of glass is really helpful, and finally a secondary block to help bring in some colour, something you might use for chimneys or just extra details around the build. Here's some examples of block palettes you might use in your builds. Number 6, this is a really simple one, but gather all your resources in advance to building. If you've planned correctly, having all the blocks ready for you is a much more efficient way of building, and it's just so much more fun. You don't have to worry about getting logs every 5 minutes. It's great. Remember, if you're enjoying this video, love building in Minecraft and want to get better, then please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you a penny and it helps me out a bunch. Thanks. Number 7, my next tip is to copy others. Yes, don't be afraid to copy others. In the right context, it's great to copy other styles and use tutorials for builds, as it presents a great opportunity to learn the techniques that other people use for building. And then you can get to the point of adding your own style and flair to a build and choose different colors and do all the great stuff. Number 8, practice building. People don't put enough weight to this, but building does not come naturally to most people. I still find myself stuck and confused even after building for nearly 7 years. When you're stuck of things to do in Minecraft, try building something, try a new style, try a new type of build. Get out of your comfort zone and practice. Ooh. Number 9. The next tip is to try using natural terrain to build. In the new 1.18 update, we have loads of new beautiful terrain like the stuff you see behind me. Try and test yourself to build your structures into the landscape to create a better flow between the naturally generated area and your build. It really can be a challenge sometimes, but it's a great one to take. That was so cringy. But try crazy things. Could you build a boat in the mountains? Or even a greenhouse under the ocean? Try and push yourself to be really creative with your ideas. Finally, number 10. Always be willing to get inspiration. When you're out and about, think to yourself, how could I make that in Minecraft? Write down any potential ideas for builds or projects you could do. For example, Do you see a cool house, an interesting animal, an interesting vehicle, an interesting looking tree maybe? Could even be a garage. Maybe even a piece of artwork could inspire your next build. This is the bonus one. Number 11, build in creative mode. I know a lot of people don't like to use creative mode when you're playing Minecraft. It removes the challenge and gives less satisfaction when finishing a build or a project. However, if you once you can spend even just 15 minutes a day in creative mode practicing different styles and techniques that you could then use in survival, you'll find a massive improvement in your building ability. It also means you can build with the more random and rare blocks you wouldn't consider building with in survival normally, such as this beautiful netherite floor. And that concludes my top 10 building tips. Put in the comments down below, what do you think is the best building tip for Minecraft? Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.